Hello again everyone, Saka here, and I am back with a Starfield video, this time talking about my thoughts on the game. Now that I have gotten all the achievements, I feel I'm ready to give my feedback on my experience, what I thought as a Bethesda fan and an RPG fan as well. If you're expecting a video where I go into great detail on what exactly is wrong with the game, that's not this. There are many YouTube videos made, video essays that go into much more detail than I would care to go into or have the time to go into. So this is just what I think about the game from my experience. So I feel that recording Starfield actually put me at a disadvantage as far as trying to enjoy the game. When you record for YouTube, you're trying to keep things interesting or, do what you can to keep the story moving forward. It wouldn't be a very good episode if all you did was survey a planet, for example. So I tried to find things that were interesting to watch at least to get through the game. And that doesn't seem like the way to play Starfield. So my second run, I buckled down. That was going to be my 100% run. And I went through all the faction quests, as many quests as I could, every Radiant quest that was given to me, walking by NPCs, that sort of thing, to really experience the game on my own time for myself, and I feel it was a much better experience the second time around. I'll start with a positive. I like the art style of the NASA punk. It felt really, near future, and a lot of people in sci-fi, they like far future. They like, extravagant ships, designs that they've never seen before, that sort of thing. I was fine with it not having high sci-fi, Star Trek or Star Wars kind of designs, something that could feasibly be in the next few hundred years. Definitely some plot holes, though, as far as designs and grav drive and all that stuff, but like I said, I'm not getting into that. One thing that I noticed fairly early, though, was that Bethesda moment of emerging into the world didn't feel as impactful as before. They started with Morrowind, emerging from the boat, walking on the dock, making your character. The world didn't feel as big, but that really wasn't a Bethesda thing at that time. They moved to Oblivion, and emerging from the Imperial sewer felt better. As soon as you got out of the sewer, there was the ruins right in front of you. The world looked big. And then they really refined it in Fallout 3 when you emerged from the vault and the wasteland was out in front of you and it looked massive. It looked sprawling. You got that feeling that, oh crap, this is a big world I'm about to step into. You get to Fallout New Vegas, which wasn't Bethesda's baby, but they had that moment as well, emerging from the doctor's office in Good Springs, and you had that sense of scale as well. Move on to Skyrim. That was epic, leaving Helgen and seeing Bleak Falls Barrow right in front of you and the mountains. You got a feeling that you were, in a snowy, mountainous biome. Really exciting. Fallout 4 emerging from the vault is always a good experience, and seeing Sanctuary destroyed right in front of you, the water tower in the distance. You had a feeling of like, okay, now I'm ready to get started. This is exciting. But Starfield lacked. You came out of the Vectera miners, habitat. And there really wasn't anything to see right in front of you. Just another habitat, and you had to actually make a turn to see the landing pad. And even that wasn't so impressive. I would have liked to have seen a more active space operation. Like, this is a space game. You're supposed to be excited to travel between planets and stars. And there was really no sense of exploration when you left the mining hab. It was just going to a landing pad. So I would have had, say, ore transporters coming in and leaving. Show the player that this is a living, breathing world, that, this mining operation is doing its business. And, if you wanted to run ore, you could. When you emerge out, you sort of get a feeling of what am I going to do? And that just wasn't there for me in Starfield. When it comes to quest lines, my favorite quest line was the Crimson Fleet. That's a pretty good opinion across the internet that the Crimson Fleet was sort of the standout quest line as far as faction quests go. As far as small one-offs go, the Mantis was good, and I like Ground Pounder. And when it comes to the main quests, I think the best quest was Entangled for sure. And there was even a place off the beaten path that I found that was not part of a quest line that was fairly interesting. It was like a homestead. When you went in, it was just one hallway with some rooms off to the side. And as you explored, you learned that a family was trying to leave, and the sound that was constantly pounding throughout the homestead was keeping it away. And there was no sort of allusion to what it actually was. And when you got to the end and turned off the sound, the very other end of the hall had now a gaping hole into a cave network. And there was a terramorph in there. And that was one of the things that I wish kind of Starfield did more of, was this sort of self-exploration. Like, it's not really guided, and it doesn't really lay out exactly what it is that's there. But through investigation by the player, you can go through and like see the end results. And it felt like most of the quests were so streamlined or mainlined that there was no sense of exploration or discovery, as it were. As far as the faction quests go, I felt that the UC Vanguard was the weakest. When you sign up, or at least I got the inclination that it was going to be more space battle, that it was going to be taking on fleets of Crimson Fleet or Spacers of Varun, and working your way up to be a recognized pilot in the UC Vanguard. And then it turned into this terramorph main quest line where you're discovering like where the terramorphs come from and how to stop them, and that really didn't hold my interest much. I'm glad I didn't record it on YouTube, as I don't know if I could feign excitement for that. But I did like being given different places on Mars to go to. The Red Devil's hideout was kind of cool. And I like the Marine robot. I kind of wish he would be a follower. And that goes into a whole nother can of worms about followers. But I liked the robot. It had some personality. And, going through the Met graveyard to get some parts to repair it, that was probably the best part for me on the UC Vanguard quests. But the whole terramorph thing and the solutions that, well, we've got 2 solutions, but you're not going to see the end result, it kind of fell flat. It's like, yay, hero of the UC, but, your actions really didn't matter in the end. I don't know. But, yeah, as far as faction quests go, the UC Vanguard was definitely a miss for me. The second weakest, I think, would be the Freestar Rangers. I'm not a fan of the Western aesthetic, so I didn't really resonate with the whole ranger and deputy sort of approach. But I was excited when I heard that the antagonist might be a separated Freestar military unit. This, exclusive Green Beret type feel of, hey, these guys, they thought they had the war won. And then they were told, hey, we signed the peace deal right before they made their final offensive and just became mercenaries. That idea was really cool to me. But it really lost steam when I found out, they were just hired by Ron Hope. Now, granted, I was happy to see Wes Johnson in the role for Ron Hope. Wes always does a good job. His characters are usually pretty memorable. Mr. Burke and Lucien Lachance and all the cool stuff that Wes Johnson has done. I think Wes could have been a better character and utilized better than Ron Hope, but a shipbuilder who's going out of business and he needs money from this fertilizer. Oh crap! I kind of wish it was just the Red Devils or the big red one. I kind of wish it was them, pushing against the Freestar Rangers and getting revenge. I think that would have been a much better storyline of these veterans who felt jaded from the war. For me, the second best faction quest line was Ryujin. I liked how it was a completely different play style than the other factions or even the game itself. Ryujin really focused on the stealth aspect, the lockpicking aspect, which I spec'd into and really focused on. And I liked the whole corporate sort of espionage and feel about, an insider selling off information or trying to get information. And the fact that you got the manipulation perk for free and you didn't have to put a perk point in it was cool. I didn't really use it much, but that's just me as a player. I'm sure someone who'd, played a lot of Cyberpunk before would have utilized those manipulation tactics a lot better than I did. But the fact that it gave you a perk for progressing through the story and a pretty cool sneak suit as well, that's the kind of thing that makes a faction quest worthwhile, that you get something unique. And sure, the Freestar Rangers gives you a ship, but, you can go out and find a random ship with better stats. So it's like the reward you get for Freestar Rangers isn't as good as like the perks and the things that you get. Granted, if you're not the sneaky sort and you don't like the manipulation aspect, then yeah, Ryujin kind of would fall flat as well. But I like the sneaking in. I like utilizing the void form, all the manipulation. Like I enjoyed the Ryujin questline, and being in the corporate world myself, it's cool to think, hey, how much of this stuff is actually going on behind closed doors? Are there really people out there trying to steal trade secrets, and how do you stop that? Like, that part resonated with me as a person. And now we move on to the Crimson Fleet, and I think the Crimson Fleet stands out for a few reasons. First of all, being, undercover and seeing the bad guys work is usually pretty cool, being a double agent. However, I didn't think the Crimson Fleet was as cutthroat and bloodthirsty as they could have been. When you think of pirates, you think of, no holds barred, take what you want by force. And I really didn't see that with the Crimson Fleet. You sort of get a feeling when you walk onto the quay for the first time and you just see a guy shoot another guy, and it sets the tone that like, hey, these people are bad. And you get to meet a lot of them too. And I think that's another thing that really sets the Crimson Fleet apart is as you go through the other faction quests, you meet just a few named NPCs that are with you. But when you get to the Crimson Fleet, you meet a whole gaggle of folks by name, and you have to work with them. And I think at the end, I did a playthrough of siding with Delgado, and my first playthrough, of course, was siding with UC SysDef. And I felt that if you sided with the pirates, it was more rewarding because the assault on the Vigilance, you got to see all of the pirates that you worked with, and you got to see them in their element. And there was no other quest that I ran into where you were fighting alongside the people that you were really working with. And that was pretty rewarding to go through. And, when you clear a room and out pops Wan Dai Yu, and it's like, oh crap, I remember you. And then you go through another door and there's Rokov, and it's like, oh crap, I remember you. And it's sort of a rewarding thing for the player to see the people that you're working with saying, hey, Rook, good job. When you side with the Vigilance or the UC SysDef, sure, you fly with Toft, but that's about it. You blow up all the Crimson Fleet folks that you worked with, and then you get on the key and have to kill Jazz, and then you go after Delgado, and it feels like really underhanded. And sure, being the double agent, that's what you're expected to do. But if they wanted the UC side to feel just as impactful, introduce me to some pilots. Like, if that's going to be the way it goes, and UC SysDef, the only people you're working with are pilots, then let me fly with those pilots on other missions instead of just returning to the Vigilance to get a pat on the back and then back out to the Crimson Fleet. Have the UC SysDef say, hey, we need you to assist our pilots. I feel that would have been really more impactful if in the final battle you were flying with pilots that you have flown with. Think like Wing Commander, or I guess Star Citizen, you could say. That the more missions you fly with these pilots, the more you get to know them. So much like the Crimson Fleet working with these individual pirates to complete your goal, if you flew with individual pilots for UC SysDef, it would make the final battle more impactful, which then, if you sided with the pirates, it would be more impactful to kill those pilots on the flight deck or shoot them out of the sky. Kind of like a Wing Commander for Price of Freedom sort of thing, where you started off with, the good guys and ended up with the resistance. You have flown with those pilots and you eventually have to kill them to side with the other side. I think that should have been a story arc that they would have looked into more. As far as the main quest goes, I liked going back to old places like the moon and NASA, seeing, human history and getting a feel of where we have come. I like that storytelling. But the other quests about getting the artifacts themselves, I really didn't connect with. And the overarching Starborn idea, I'm not opposed to alternate realities or multiverses or moving into the next universe. I think, if you were to set up a new game plus, that could be a way to do it. But having the emissary and the hunter, what happens to them if they die in the current multiverse? Are they just in the next one? And what happens, if they make it, do they see themselves in the next universe? So if that is the case, why didn't I run into myself on my concurrent playthroughs? And I think that could have been a cool idea for a new game plus. Each new game plus, you have to go kill yourself to make sure that you were the one that reached the unity. And it would have been even cooler if in each iteration of the New Game Plus, your character was doing something different. So when you get to a New Game Plus, you don't know where you are in the grand scheme of things. And you might be a traitor. You might be with the Crimson Fleet. You might be in the Vanguard. So that would encourage the player to join those specific factions so that you can get to yourself and, become the Starborn instead of them. But that's just me spitballing. They'll probably say, no, when you come into the next universe, you then assume the identity of you, and there is no competition. You are always you. So what happens to that other person? We don't know. You just become them. And I think, unfortunately, Starfield is a victim of its... You can blame the engine, and you can also blame their game design. I feel that they wanted to do something like No Man's Sky, a free traversal from planet to space to, a loading screen to another system. But I don't know if they could achieve that. I don't know if the new creation engine can even do that. It feels like we've been kind of spoiled as space fans the last, decade since, Skyrim and Fallout 4 came out, where we now expect a free traversal from surface of planet to space and jumping to another star system with No Man's Sky and soon, in quotation, Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous and the space traveling games, even X4 of, just freely traveling with no loading screens. And I don't know if Creation Engine is even capable of doing that. But what I do hope, though, is there are some developers out there that look at Starfield and see its faults and make a game that rectifies those faults. So, first or third person, open world, space traversal, RPG. The game that when it was announced, a lot of people wanted and projected all of, modern games into. I really hope that someone is working on that for the future. But in all, I agree with the sentiment that while it's not, the 8 or 9, I also don't think it's a 1 or a 2. I think it's middle of the road. It's, a serviceable game that, I'm not going to continue playing in my off time, although when the DLC comes out, I'll probably play it. I want to see if they can, or what they can fix, because there are going to be some things that they just cannot fix. And they say a new way to travel. Is it just going to be a fast travel point? So if people are expecting vehicles or, a speeder bike or something of that nature to navigate the planet with, I don't think the engine can load world spaces fast enough if you're traveling that fast. The new way to travel may be an item or something that will allow you to travel to a place that you can see in the distance. So you bring up a scanner, it's 1,000 meters away or whatever, and you can fast travel to that. So the new way to travel may actually just be more loading screens. But please, Bethesda, prove me wrong. I want to see what you can do with your engine. Make this game that you say will last near infinite, 10 years of playtime, deal with the things that people have stopped playing your game for, and let's see some magic. And I'm holding out hope that they can do something with it, but my gut feeling is saying that these developers are looking at the complaints and they're saying, We'd love to do that, but we literally cannot with what we have. But now with 200 hours into the game, I'm really starting to feel burned out, and it's not something that I want to go back to until there is new content. So that's the Shattered Space DLC coming this year, in quotations, hopefully. So for now, I will find something else to do with my time and get that on YouTube. Get back to recording on a regular basis. So that will do it for me, everyone. Thanks for listening to my rant or my stream of consciousness. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you come back for Shattered Space, I'll see you then. If not, look for new stuff coming soon. Take care.